this school district for the 2015-16 school year if Superintendent Marcy Guthrie is still here. I am also extremely concerned about losing additional site administration and staff. One of the reasons for teachers leaving is the barrage of teachers being written up and not being able to voice their opinions for fear of reprisal. I had never heard of a teacher being suspended here until this past fall. I don't work in an environment where you can't speak your mind without the threat of getting into real trouble, but it sounds miserable. I am heartbroken to see people I consider my friends so distraught. In my private business world experience, when a long-time, esteemed, knowledgeable, and treasured employee mentions retiring, we do all we can to try to change their mind. They become part of what makes our business work. We trust them to take care of their responsibilities, just as we trust the teachers here to take care of all of our children. It's inconceivable to me that a school district wouldn't operate with that same philosophy. The fact that near-retirement teachers in this school district might feel that someone wanted them to retire simply because of budget or salary issues is atrocious. Our teachers and staff have and always will be here for our children. It's our turn to be here for them. We are here tonight because we will no longer sit back and not speak up for those whose voices have been silenced. Sorry, and I would like to submit this as part of the records, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Corey Ward.
Howdy. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Corey Ward. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My family has been a member of this community and district for a long time. My kids are the 4th generation here in this district. So far back that Charles Brown and Herbert Green went under different names and Indian Creek did not exist. Special events of the last year have led me to coming here tonight. However, I only want to speak to you, the board, about 2 things. Our son, who is currently in the 5th grade and is also a part of the IEP program. First, I want to say that if he was not a part of this great program, that his performance in class today would not be what it is. My wife and I are forever grateful for his teachers that have helped him through this. However, I would be remiss to not mention one member of this IEP team, and that is Kathy Wilson. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. You have touched so many lives in this district that we are truly sorry that you retired from this district last year. But rest assured, she still helps our son weekly and countless other students who value what she has done for us. Thank you again, Kathy. Lastly, I would like to speak to you about the sudden loss of Mr. Bebo last spring. Kirk, as I know him, we grew up in this district, attending Charles Brown and Herbert Green together. Some might say that I have a biased opinion towards Mr. Bebo because we are friends. My answer to that is, you better believe I do. Better believe I do because, never mind. But not because we were in the same science class in 7th grade here or we played baseball together. From the moment Mr. Bebo arrived here, the skies got brighter. For everybody that met him for the first time, Whether you asked a student, a teacher, or a parent, he was always held in the highest of regard with everybody. For my friend, I noticed something truly special about the way he was around everybody at school. He was a natural. I have only one question for you, the board. Why would Mr. Vivo decide to leave last year when he had spoke to me several times in the past that he was home and he planned on retiring in this district when he was such a positive influence on everybody here in this district? Thank you for your time.
Arlen Ward.
Good evening. My name is Arlen Ward, and I'm a third grade teacher at Indian Creek School and a constituent of this district. My children and husband attended in kindergarten through 8th grade in the district. My father-in-law was also on the district school board, so this district is very important to my family. In my opinion, I want to tell you how proud I am to work with my colleagues who support, this is how much this means to me here, who support each other through the good times and difficult times, through the loss of one of our own, husbands, mothers, dads, siblings, accidents, and a cancer diagnosis right here. Contrary to rumors, we do not bully each other in this district, no matter what people say. With a different group of teachers, aides, recess supervisors, custodians, cafeteria staff, office staff, speech teacher, nurses, bus drivers, and librarian, because together we are stronger. I am here now for point 2, to let you know how third grade's language arts curriculum has been purchased for this year. We were directed to find and pay for Common Core literature units to use in third grade. I then personally paid for a unit with one of my colleagues who actually paid for 3 of them. We tried to find units that we had some novels for, but did not have enough for each student. The other novels that were needed for these units were bought by our wonderful librarian, which she didn't have to because we had no money. It was $767. Oh no, that's for my next one, sorry. We were also directed to have nonfiction Common Core material, so we chose Time for Kids, but we had to use our grade level money, $767.44. These donations that were in our grade level money came from the parents. These were supposed to be used for our field trips that were now in the red. I believe the district should be paying for these items as per the Williams Act. The law has been broken. We have no language arts curriculum provided by the district. None. And except for what we purchased and the parents have paid for. So teacher and parents, we paid for third grade language arts. Didn't know if you knew that. I would like to see myself, my colleague, the school librarian, and all our grade level fund, which was donated by the parents, be refunded. That might be my timer, but I gotta say something about school safety. You've seen CCs of ones. You've gotta get a school safety policy and program. I'm being bullied at work, and so are my students. Submit this part like to submit this as part of the record.
Tom Whitecotton.
Good evening. I'd like to say my name is Dawn Whitecotton, and I thank the board for having a chance to speak. I wasn't prepared to speak this evening, so I'm just going to get in front of the flag. My child has been in an interest transfer with an IEP from kindergarten through now 6th grade. And I was told this year that the interdistrict transfer would be revoked because of her IEP. And after 4.5 months of continual meetings, I finally got the result I needed. But I definitely feel that the main head of the school, the superintendent, has her focus on monetary values instead of the best well interest of our children. So, thank you.
Megan Retke.
Good evening. My name is Megan Radke, and I have 2 children at Green and 1 at Creek. First, thank you to those who gave up their time for last night's forum. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but as my mom likes to say, if we were all the same, it'd be pretty hard to play poker. But I am worried about our district. There are problems that will work out, like parent club, budget cuts, and even canceled forums. But it started a path of distrust, and it's difficult to rebuild that trust. Besides, there's a bigger elephant in the room. Our November board agenda cites 2 possible litigations against the district, and unfortunately, there are other risks of legal action because parents have stated repeatedly that their child's IEP was changed, lost, or not followed. Some even have backing from the state now. I was on the district budget team for 4 years, so I can see how changing an IEP could save money, and perhaps this is the reason for changes made. But by a show of hands, did anybody see A Few Good Men, the movie? Few Good Men? Yeah. Well, Tom Cruise plays an attorney defending 2 Marines, and he states, "It doesn't matter what I think, it only matters what I can prove." Now, some may think it's not a big deal to change an IEP, or think a child may not need much help. But it doesn't matter what we think, it only matters what we can prove. And the state has proven our district has been in the wrong. So even if IEPs were altered with good intentions, the verdict is still guilty. Our district hopes to ask taxpayers for a $16 million bond for a master facility plan to update our schools. But I remember a previous student, and people like Corey, who've been around a while, probably remember the superintendent who supposedly spent $1.5 million of district money on technology, and yet there was no new technology to show for the deficit. And now that our district may be at risk for multiple litigations, I'm concerned about supporting a bond due to my previous experiences, because it was as if that technology money vanished. With the transparency of our district currently being questioned, I worry our taxes will be raised for years to come, and we'll be left wondering if all the money went towards a facility plan or long-term legal expenses. Leadership comes from the top, and I know being in charge can be a thankless job. It's a job in which the approval of all is an unattainable goal, but I question the pattern of behavior that has been shown. There's not just 1 or 2 problems. The board keeps reminding us about the process. However, at the forum last night, our superintendent stated that an incomplete IEP was signed, and 4 days later it was changed. This statement brought questions from our own staff, because one said, "This is not the process Mother Lode has followed. Why even have a parent sign an IEP if it's not accurate? And besides that, parents wouldn't have to go through the process if IEPs weren't changed." So let's go back to Hollywood and think about those few good men I mentioned earlier. They were discharged for conduct unbecoming. They didn't do what was right, and in my opinion, neither has our district.
Teresa Schoner.
My name is Teresa Schoner, and I have a child at Herbert Green in 5th grade, and I have one in 3rd grade at Indian Creek. I've been a very active parent, both in parent club, PTA, fundraising, volunteering in the classroom, and doing yearbook and whatever else the school has needed in the past. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the item which Tammy spoke about at the last board meeting, the closed door meetings. A good example of these closed door meetings are that this fall a PTC meeting On the agenda was the money for box tops. When that item came up at the meeting, our principal asked if that agenda item could be tabled and discussed in private, closed-door meeting with the PTC board. When the budget came up, she also wanted to have a private, closed-door meeting. Now, we're not certain if this is coming from our new principal or from our superintendent. A lot of parents are on the fence on that one. In the private closed-door meeting regarding the budget, the PTC, we were asked not to share what was talked about. But she wanted to have a chance to talk with teachers before what was budgeted got out. As of this date, I don't think the teachers have been told what money was budgeted from the walkathon last year. Because what we discussed, none of the teachers know anything about. I'm not a fan of closed-door meetings, and I'm not a fan of being told not to talk about something that affects our whole school, our parents, and our teachers. At our next PTC meeting in December, our board president was out sick, so I ran it. And I was asked by a second person if I could tell the PTC parents that the budget has already been voted on, and this was just for their information, which was a bold-faced lie. Our budget has to be approved by the members of our parent board, and I was not about to stand up there and lie to their face. So I went over the budget with everyone in the room. The PTC members are the ones that get to vote, and that's what the money we raise, what we raise it for, and how it will be spent. And we are not going to let the school tell us any different. We come to the district board and we present our fundraising ideas to you. You approve them. We tell you what we want to raise the money for. If you have an objection, that's when you guys can tell us. After the fact, it's too late. And when we say we're raising money for field trips, that's where we're expecting it to go. On another note, a closed-door meeting that I'm very upset about. I have an issue with the principal having closed-door meetings alone with students. It's happened. It's not just for the protection of the principal, it's also for the protection of the student. This happened to my son last week, and when asked what was said to him, I got no answer on the subject. I have asked over 3 times, what did you say to my son in that closed-door meeting, and I've asked for it in writing. I have not got a response yet. I can go on what my 9-year-old says, but I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. But her lack of response has made me wonder if maybe what he says is true. Again, I am not sure if our principal is acting on her own or if she's going on what she's told to do by our superintendent. This is my opinion, and I would like this to be part of the records.
Lori? Yes, Steve?
Good evening. My name is Lorana Stev, and I would like first to thank the Board of Trustees for attending and listening to my concerns, and to all the people who have come to show their support. I'm a parent of the Motherlode Union School District, and in my opinion, any school district should be operated in the same manner as a company. In a company, you have the Board of Directors, and at the school, we have the Board of Trustees. We also have management, which is the superintendent. We have employees, which is our teachers. We have the product, our children. And we have the final consumer, the parents. In a company, you have at the top the Board of Directors. This is a group or body of elected members who jointly oversees the decisions and activities of the company, which would be the same as a Board of Trustees for this district. Let me repeat it. It's a group of elected members by the parents and citizens of the district. This group or body is elected who jointly oversees the decisions and activities of the company. Next, we have the management, which oversees the employees. At the district, management is the superintendent, who oversees staff and teachers. This is my major concern. As a parent in the district for the last 5 years, I have seen and heard of major changes in this last year that are very concerning to me. There are many different types of styles, and in my opinion, the current management is not working for this district. Next, we have the employees or teachers who are the backbone of a company or a school district. You're only as good as your employees and teachers. And in order to have the best final product, our children, we need to have an open, friendly, and happy environment, which we do not have today. An employee who is not happy to go to work every day will not give you the 100% productivity that you need to have the best final product. Again, our children. We have devoted teachers today and would hate to see them look for other employment opportunities. A devoted employee is difficult to replace. You do not appreciate them until they're gone. Some beloved employees have already left. We, the final consumer, parents, want to have the best product for our children. And we ask the board to listen to us tonight, as we are not currently happy with the management style we have with the superintendent. Thank
you. Myra Louder.
Good evening. I don't have any notes, so I'm going to wing it tonight. I've been a parent in the Mother Lode Union School District for many years. My oldest is now a sophomore at Union Mine, and she started over at Charles Brown. I come here tonight with concerns, not concerns that you've heard, well, those are my concerns too, but concerns for the school board members themselves. My concern is from what I'm hearing in the community. It makes me sad and disheartened to hear parents from other districts and community members tell me how and what they've heard about the district. When I say my kid goes to Mother Lode Union School District, it used to make me feel really proud. Now when I say it, the consent that I get is, oh, I'm glad my kid doesn't go there. Oh yeah, we pulled our kid out of there last year. We're so much happier now. You should move your child from there to another district. That makes me sad. As elected board members, I feel sad that you are representing a district that is being poorly run. When you have a district that is poorly run, it's now associated with the community that, well, if it's a poorly run district, then you must have poor teachers and they don't know how to teach, because why couldn't they get a job at a good district? Well, now you have kids that are being associated with as, well, they're the bad kids because they're at the bad district with, or the bad school in the bad district with the bad teachers. And let me just say that our teachers in Indian Creek and Herbert Green, we have some of the most amazing, best teachers in this county at both schools. The only reason right now that my child is still at Herbert Green is because of the teacher who she has this year. If it was not for her and her outstanding dedication to the kids, I would have pulled her from this district because of everything that's going on. I would have pulled her last year if she would not have had the most amazing teacher in the world at that school. The year before, same thing. We have amazing teachers. But now, we have teachers associated with a district that is poorly run. Now we have kids that are being taught by the bad teachers at the bad district, at the bad schools. And now I'm a bad parent because I have a bad child at a bad school taught by bad teachers in a bad district. Why am I not a better parent for pulling my kid out of a district and putting him in a better one? I don't want to. I want to be proud of Mother Lode again. And right now, I'm not a proud parent of Mother Lode. I'm concerned about the board members. You are elected officials. You have taken on this responsibility. You represent us. You represent the teachers. You represent the school and our kids. We support you in doing that. And we trusted you when we elected you as in these positions. Please, 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 listen to us, hear our concerns, and take them to heart, because it's not just us, it's the rest of the community. It's our teachers, it's our schools, it's our kids, and it's us as parents. Thank you.
Guy Bessem.
I want to thank actually the board members and Marcy Guthrie. Last night you invited us to come speak and share our concerns out of wanting more transparency within the district. I'm going to try to get through this without crying or throwing up, so bear with me. I want you to recognize, too, that for every parent that is here, there are probably 5 parents who can't. There are that many parents who have concerns. When our son was about to enter 1st grade, we bought a home in Mother Lode Union School District and transferred out of the district we had been in since he was 3. That first year was really bad. My son had so many problems in school that I drove home most days in tears. Only his amazing teacher held me, my son, my husband, and his education together that year. We did not have the support of a principal, we did not have the support of the district special ed coordinator, or the support of the district psychologist. The second year, if possible, was worse than the first. I felt as though I was a failure as a parent at my inability to help my child in his educational development. It seemed like not only would no one help us, but that no one cared. It was a huge loss of support compared to what we had seen in our previous district. In Mother Lode, we had a principal who was rarely in the office, and if he was, he certainly didn't have time to meet with you. We had a special education coordinator who would walk out of IEP meetings if you raised questions or offered an opinion different than hers. And my husband and I began discussing selling our home that we had just bought because we felt our son deserved a good education. Well, we decided to be patient, and things did begin to change. Indian Creek got a wonderful principal who formed relationships with both children and their parents, and for the first time, we had a principal who attended our IEP meetings. We also had both Mary Ann Myers and Nancy Carson join the district. They would stop and speak to parents when they were on campus. They would ask questions, and they would follow through with our concerns. I felt confidence at the quality of my child's education. We had amazing teachers who would fight for our kids. And they would tell you things you did not want to hear. And they would tell you that it was going to be really hard. And most of all, they would tell us that we thought that our kids could do it, because we were a team. We left Indian Creek last year, and we loved our district. This year, my son started at Herbert Green, and when I heard about the loss of Mr. Vibo, my first thought was, thank God I'm not an Indian Creek parent anymore. I don't think that I could step on that campus without feeling that loss. I know how much he cared about the kids. He made a point of being there in their everyday lives, and he was fair to the children in matters of discipline, and he treated every child equally, the bad kids, the good kids, the special need kids, the bright kids. He fought for the kids, and he fought for the teachers. And I know that my son's success, can I have 2 more seconds, is not just in part because of his parents, it's because of the teachers, it's because of the principals, the yard duties, the aides, and the entire community that formed that. And I'm so lucky that we're at Herbert Green. We have a good principal, and I'm terrified of losing him and the teachers that we have now. Thank you.
Sarah Picado, Kadoff.
I too have a little graphic here for you. It's mostly for you guys, so I'm gonna try to set this up this way. I'd like you guys to see it and a handout. I wasn't sure if protocol was to do this before or after. Thank you. That'd be perfect. Thank you, sir. Actually, can I get some of this? Good evening and hello again. I just wanted to thank you guys again for the opportunity to speak. My name is Sarah Picota, and I'm the parent of Noah. She's a first grader at Indian Creek. She also receives numerous special education services. I first spoke with the board on September 10th regarding the conduct of special education staff during IEP meetings and outside of those meetings. In addition, I requested transparency from the school district regarding the credentials of new special education staff. I feel that it is the best interest of all staff, parents, and children within our district to know who is educating our children, especially when there are so many new faces within the special education department. Before I move on, I would again like to ask the board to consider my request for publicly disclosing the credentials of school psychologist, program specialist for the district, as well as the credentials of educational specialist for Indian Creek. This is a small, close-knit community. Our friendships and ties run much deeper than... Our friendships and ties run much deeper than just our children going to school together. And when you narrow this community down to those involved in special education, or for parents with children with IEPs, this group becomes even closer. These parents talk to each other a lot. We share a common construction. Parents of exceptional children, as I like to call them, get things. They understand things that other parents may not understand. We understand the struggle that we all have to face to ensure our children have access to a fair and appropriate education. This year, that struggle got a whole lot harder, unnecessarily harder. Congratulations to all these parents of exceptional children who've made it this far in the school year. I've heard all their stories, and I know the battle and the struggle they are all facing because I am facing it with my own daughter's education. This battle is beyond what any parent should reasonably have to endure for their child's education. Tonight I would like to show my support for my fellow exceptional parents and present the board with some brief information regarding my daughter's IEP and the gross inconsistencies that have been occurring in the special education department within our district. Please try to follow me on this when it gets convoluted. In May of 2014, I had an IEP meeting with previous district special education staff, which included Mary Ann Myers, Nancy Carson, Kathy Wilson, Mr. Bebo, my daughter's teacher, the wonderful Miss Vieira. As always, the staff was amazing, and the IEP turned out just as we had hoped. Everyone was in agreement and knew the plan for the upcoming school year. In August of 2014, after learning of all the new special education staff, I asked Ms. Stacy if we could have a meet and greet, just so I could get to know everybody and know that we were all on the same page. I'm continuing. During this meeting, it was brought to my attention that the previous staff had made a small flip-flop in percentages as to the amount of time my daughter should be in special education versus general education. In October of 2000...
We have allowed everybody else to 3 minutes.
You need to let her finish.
Just finish.
Thanks a lot.
Kathy Wilson.
Good evening. I was here last night and heard some comments. I'm Kathy Wilson, retired teacher, taught in the Motherlode School District for 38 years. I had Pat Nordquist's son in 6th grade when I was teaching regular ed, then moved into special ed and taught special ed at all 3 sites for 36 years. I am proud to say I always did my IEPs correctly. I never had a parent come back to me about them. We did them legally, we were successful, and things were right. And kids came first. I just want to
Okay, the other requests to be heard are Teresa Schroeder, you want to talk now on your 4.0 or?
Let's go ahead for it.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I'll be back next week. Okay.
I would give my time to Sarah any day. Okay, this is regarding the IEPs, which is the 4.0 special education. In my opinion, we have serious issues with IEPs in this district. This is the first year that I've had any issues with IEPs. We have had an IEP in the school district since 2006. We started off with my daughter, Then my son's process started in 2008. So we're not new. This is not our first rodeo. This year, we asked the office, the very first week of school, for a copy of my son's IEP. We figured there's new staff. We need to double check things to see what I have, what they have. It took a bit. We had to ask again. Technically, they only have 10 days to get it to you. When we did get a copy of the IEP, it wasn't a full copy of his IEP. They were missing parts of it. Didn't have any of his academics. All they had was his speech. This made us worry. They couldn't find his full IEP. It was just gone. Blaming the staff from last year that they must have done something with it. Well, you heard Mrs. Wilson. I believe every word she says. I've trusted her. She would not have left that school grounds without that IEP being in my son's record. I know that as a fact, and I know Mr. Vivo would not have left either. And I really take offense to people blaming the staff from last year when they're not here to defend themselves. Now we were really worried. I contacted the county and asked for help with resolving this issue. They stepped up to the plate and helped right away. We talked to them about the issue. They scheduled a meeting for us. And amazing, the full IEP was at that meeting. Wow. We got told that the staff that was here last year lost it, and we found it. April couldn't access it. She was new. She couldn't get on the computer, but she was finally able to. At that meeting, all we wanted to know was that my son's IEP was in place and that he was getting the services he needed. They started talking like he doesn't qualify, that he needs to be retested. We had to sit there and give them a whole full story of my son and the information that should have been in his file, which I know Mrs. Wilson made sure of. He was just tested in April, and with the IEP team that was in place, the decision was made what service he would need the following year. We don't understand how this year everything in question, and we were not at the meeting to change his IEP as they wanted to. We were contacted by the state in October to discuss a complaint that was filed on behalf of my son. They asked if they could investigate, and we said yes. They asked questions about his IEP, and we told them what we knew, and that they said they would have a report to us in December. In the meantime, the school was trying different ways to implement my son's IEP. They wanted to do a push-in, which we let them know it was not okay. In his IEP, there's certain requirements that needed to be done, and a push-in would not have worked for my son. If we were not involved parents and staying on top of it, my son would have, his IEP, he would have had push-ins, he would have things done to him without our consent. I'm just going to kind of go back down to their essence. The thing is going, we got the letter in December from the state. The district was found with two different parents, two different children to be in non-compliance. And there's other IEPs in the district that are in non-compliance, and those parents have cases, and this school district is going to be facing major lawsuits from parents with IEPs unless you guys figure this out and get rid of what's happening in the school district. And as I told Ms. Guthrie in my meeting last week, that Denise Haley is not to have anything to do with my son.
Thank you. Callie Bessem, would you like to speak now?
I'll wait for Thompson.
Okay. Shelley Bishop, would you like to speak now or at the...
Oh, now.
Okay.
I missed the purple thing. I did not make to have Facebook or MySpace. I'm sorry. All right. So I'll wear my blue for Eldorado. All right. So a while back, my son went here about 2.5 years ago, and he was special ed. They got him to SARC, who discovered he was having absent seizures, and it wasn't ADD, and that we had to give him on seizure medication to get him help because he was not getting help here. He was supposed to be in her special ed class, and because of budgets, they pulled him out, put him in the regular classroom. He failed miserably. I had to pull him out, put him at Camino Natural Resource Charter School, who worked with him wonderfully. Okay, so with that, I want to talk about Charles Brown, but we'll talk about it another day because I want to know why we're not making money. But we'll address the needs of special education today. I volunteered this last week In my daughter's class, because I work at the high school, I have an extra week off. What I found was incredible. I was asked to work with a young boy in the 3rd grade who is reading 1st grade level and could not remember his vowels and could not read thoroughly enough. He missed 16 words and 14 pages of 1st grade reading level. And at the end, I asked the teacher, I said, why is this kid not in special ed? This is crazy. You're working all the time with this kid. All these other kids are kind of left to be working on their own. Why is this kid not being worked with? Why is he not in SD? Well, we cut SDC by 1. We only have 1 SDC teacher. And I asked at the beginning of the year, actually, she goes, I asked twice for him to have an IEP. And finally, they got him into speech. And now they get to wait, this is after 90 days, now they get to wait another 60 days before they test him so that he can go ahead and go into special ed. And they're going to wait that 60 days. It's 150 days into the school year and this kid has not gotten tested. And he is on the spectrum. I've taught for 20 years. I know a kid who's on the spectrum. She's asked for someone to come in and observe this kid. No one has been in to observe this kid. I don't know if you guys have sat in any of these classrooms and volunteered for a day. I volunteered for a week. This kid had multiple breakdowns in the classroom because he couldn't understand what to do in the classroom, and no one can help him. No one. You know, she spent her time working with this kid. The other thing is I worked with a kid, tried to work with a kid who is from Mexico. You guys stopped working with kids who have that need EL. There's one teacher that volunteers at that school, one time, 15 minutes a day. He does not speak, or excuse me, one time a week. He does not speak any English. She relies on another kid who doesn't even understand his own language very well to help him understand what to do in the classroom. That's not helping that kid. Get that EL program back in there, 40 minutes a day, get those kids knowing what to do in the classroom, help out the teachers a little bit with that. They are working so much with those kids that need the IEPs and our EL that they can't focus on the other kids in the classroom. They're relying on them knowing what to do in the class. It was terrible. I've not seen that before. Thank you.
Sir, Heather, Loser.
Good evening, board. You see this in your packet? Okay, this is a personnel item in a public forum. Okay, I called CSEA today. They told me that, again, what you can prove and what you can not prove is not appropriate or not what they, basically they said I don't have a case because you could say that it wasn't supposed to be put in there and that would be the way it would go. I could sue, it cost me a lot of money and so be it. Anyway, to the issue of the job, granted we can do the job without the hour-and-a-half position, but the it won't be as good as done as well. There won't be any extra work done, and I feel that there is a person that could have filled that position. They tried for two other personnel. They didn't want an hour-and-a-half position. One went and got a job at another school for more time. The other just didn't want to do the hour-and-a-half. We've got a bus driver down there that would be more than happy to fill that position, and they won't hire her. I don't know if it's coming from the district office or whether it's coming from the cafeteria, but they won't hire that person. She qualifies, she's subbed in at that position, and it won't do it. Anyway, I would recommend that you hire that bus driver position. Show that you support the bus drivers here in this school district, because they can't live on the hour or 4.5 hours that they are cut back to, okay? I can see a straight line from Walmart to McDonald's to Mother Lode School District that you guys don't care for your employees. You won't give them a decent living. And there's a straight line right to this school district. And I hope that you will not cut that position and that you will fill it with this bus driver. And as for this letter, it's a warning to all employees within this district. If you take the concern to your supervisor, be cautious because it could end up in public. Okay? It's right here. And I'm highly, smile. I'm highly disappointed that this ended up in the board packet. It should not have ended up there. Thank you.
Todd White.
My name is Todd White, and I can't think of anything more I'd want to do on a Wednesday evening. So I want to thank the board for having us here and for taking the time to be here, because I know what it takes to be on the school board. And it's nice being on this side of the podium for a change. There's 5 key words that, well, let me back up. I do agree with Bishop's comments regarding special education, and that's why I'm here tonight. There's some things going on in the district that I see through parents that are kind of just strange. And that is the special education in this community has always been a point of pride, not something that we avoid or try to get out of. And it's actually something that the state legislature codified in the education code. It's not something that we're supposed to skip on. It's something that we're supposed to give students every opportunity to enjoy. I've seen documentation that appears that this district is out of compliance, and actually there is 5 words that are very important. The district is out of compliance. And that sentence means a couple of different things. The most important thing that sentence means is that students aren't receiving special education services appropriately. And that should be the most important meaning of that sentence. The other meaning of that sentence is, if we think we have financial problems today, wait until the state finds out that all these other IEPs have been violated, not saying that they are. It's going to cost the district a lot more than skimping on these services. So I'll try to finish up before the kitchen timer goes off. But, if there's a need that exists in special education, I was born here, there's probably like half the other people in this room. This community is really good at rallying around these types of things. And if there's needs that need to be met, I see so many people, I feel like I'm at a family reunion, that would just be willing to open up their checkbooks and write a check. But one thing has to exist in order for that to take place, and that has to be a perception, not a perception of trust. And if there isn't a perception of trust, we can't come to the table. Your bond won't get passed, which would be very fortunate for your plans at Charles Brown School, and services will continue to deteriorate. And with the declining enrollment in this community, parents have the opportunity to go to school almost anywhere they want, as long as they can get there. So we have to be a little bit more competitive, keep students here, and from an ethical perspective, this district must not be out of compliance. Thank you.
Yes. 1.3. Jeff Rapke.
Last
last night I was at the forum, and there's a lot of concerned parents here. I think I would like to give my minutes to Sarah Pacoda, if you don't mind.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm over the emotional part, but you have to understand, as a parent of a special needs child, we have been fighting tooth and nail for our kids' education, and it is really hard for us at this point. I'm frankly exhausted, I'm sure most of you are too. Okay, so now that being said, I wanted to get back to my daughter's IEP. In May of 2014, like I said, we had an IEP meeting with Kathy Wilson, Nancy Carson, Marianne Myers, Ms. Vieira, Mr. Bevo, full IEP meeting. At that point, there was a clerical error that was made. That error was that stated that my daughter was to spend 80% of her time in special education, 20% of her time in general education. Now, moving forward, in October of 2014, let me just skip back. This error right here that was made, I was unaware of it. I was so happy with the way I left that IEP meeting. The same group of people that I had been working with, everything was perfect. So I didn't look at that error, and I frankly overlooked it. So in October of 2014, there was an amendment that was generated. One of the things, proposed changes that was to be made was that my daughter would spend 98% of the time in general education, which is what the plan had always been. She was to be in general education with special education service support, meaning speech therapy, adaptive PE, and occupational therapy. So this whole amendment was drafted along with some other changes. Those changes that were made that did not include this were absolutely ludicrous. It didn't need to be made. It was clerical wording errors, things that absolutely was a waste of my time. It was a waste of the new staff's time to meet to even discuss those changes. This is all that needed to be changed. So that being said, because the district was because the special education staff was being so adamant about me signing the IEP with those changes, those other changes that I did not feel necessary, I refused to sign the IEP. So during Thanksgiving break, I got an email from the program specialist stating that because I did not sign this amendment, stay-put orders were put in place on this IEP for May of 2014. So what this means is the IEP that was signed and consented to by the district says my daughter should be in special education for 80% of her day. She spends 98% of her day in general education. The district is in violation of the IEP as per their own emails, as per their own amendments that they have made. Now, I am happy with where my daughter's at. Her placement is perfect, and we get that, but verbal agreements do not count in IEPs, and because that amendment has never been signed, those stay-put orders were put in place, and that is what the district is currently adhering to. So it sounds like you have another state situation on your hands. Thank you.
Go on to 1.1, community leadership. 1.1, information superintendent.
Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for sharing your